Hello and welcome to this webinar. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm going to be talking about this topic, the 6 ways to make your website smarter using AI. Now, just before we get going, hopefully there's no technical issues, but if there are, maybe if you can't see my screen or hear my voice, please just drop a note in the chat and we will do our very best to help you. Otherwise, I'll assume we are good to go. Just very quick introduction to myself in case you haven't been on any of our webinars before. My name is Will. I'm the Managing Director and founder of a digital agency called Webbox. We build websites and run marketing campaigns for sectors that improve lives. And we work with the likes of DS Smith and the NHS, Fevertree, St John Ambulance and others to drive better engagement digitally. And I've been doing this now for the last 16 years. And it's with that experience and insights that has shaped this content for you today. So hopefully there'll be some or plenty of nuggets that you can take away. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say that we are recording today's session, so I will hopefully be able to share that recording with you later this week. So don't worry too much about making notes as we go through. It is a fast-paced webinar, so I'm going to try and cover a lot of ground within approximately 45 minutes. So, forgive me, but I am going to move at pace. And also really welcome your feedback. Would love to hear how you found today's webinar, how you're using AI within your business, and also if you've got any ideas for webinar topics that you would like us to speak on. So please feel free to reply to my email later in the week when I share the recording or tag us online. Now, just before I get into the first point, I just thought I'd explain the fact that each way that I'm going to talk about today is going to be broken into 3 sections. So I'm going to talk about what it means and why it matters, then how it works and various use cases, and then I'm going to share some tools that you can explore afterwards. So yeah, for each of the 6, there will be 3 parts. And as I work through these 6 ways, they're going to go from kind of basic to more advanced uses of AI. So don't be dismayed at the first one. There's a lot of stuff coming later on down the road. So let's make a start. Really excited to get into this because it's been a really popular topic. So our first way to make your website smarter using AI is all around content creation and optimization. Now, hopefully we all know by now that AI is pretty good at writing content. But AI content creation is more than just page content or a blog post. It can support so many other things like microcopy, product descriptions, landing pages, metadata, and FAQs. The list just goes on. Now, this is not just about creating from scratch. It's equally as important to talk about the fact that we need to be going back to previous copy on our site and editing it or repurposing it, often for the purpose of SEO, to enrich the value of that content and bring it up to speed with SEO best practices. Now, a lot of the tools I'm going to share today help bridge the gap between we need more content and we don't have time, which is something I hear marketers talk about all the time. So if you're a lean team or if you maybe work in campaign sprints, it is really helpful to be able to use AI for content creation or ideation. Now, this could be thinking about campaigns, testing different headlines, all the way through to long-form blog content. AI really is there to support us doing that and make it faster day to day. Now let's move on to how does this work and some use cases. So tools are powered by models like GPT or fine-tuned LLMs, and they're trained on large volumes of content. But you can then give that model a goal, which could be to increase conversions. You can give it an audience, which might be I don't know, millennial gym goers, and then you'll kind of receive optimized content off the back of it. That's one way. You could also use it to fill content gaps or rewrite outdated copy, or even generate multiple variations of a landing page in just minutes. It's especially powerful in our experience of like creating keyword-rich content that kind of carefully balances user-friendly content, but also the needs of SEO. However, all of that being said, that will just fall down if someone reads the content and it doesn't reflect your tone of voice. So often, unfortunately, we kind of read copy and we know instantly that it was written by ChatGPT or another equivalent tool. So what you want to do is spend the time training that model on how you write, or maybe the company's tone of voice. And something which so often we kind of see missed is actually you need to start putting in, let's say, emails you've written in the past, or call transcripts from a call recording, or previous documents. If you're writing a proposal, put in your previous proposals. Feed it in with all of this helpful information so that it's got a better idea as to the context and also your writing style. So yeah, really encourage you to take time to feed it information and finally to provide it with feedback. So, you know, when it comes back and it's got these M dashes everywhere and emojis, and maybe it uses a phrase that you wouldn't naturally write, go back and tell it that you wouldn't naturally write that, so that it can learn for next time. Now, obviously, there's loads of tools that you can explore for this. Jasper is actually a favorite for marketers. You can train it on your tone of voice and your campaign goals. Serve for SEO, we've used this for many years, combines AI writing with real-time content scoring, which is great for blog optimization. Obviously, ChatGPT goes without saying, but I just want to kind of leave you with this sentiment, which is these tools don't replace content creators. They just accelerate them and remove sometimes what we call creative friction, okay? So use them for ideation or a first draft, or maybe tweaking the tone, or even split testing, but it does not replace a content creator. Now let's move on to the second way, and this is AI-powered content personalization. Now this is such a big topic that I'm going to split it into two areas. So let's start with search and recommendations, and then I'll move on to other forms of content personalization. So let's look initially at search and recommendations. So imagine on your website you've got a search feature at the moment that probably relies on exact keyword matching or maybe content tagging. And so often users have to figure out how to best use the search feature to get the results that they're looking for. Whereas AI-powered search understands intent, context, and even typos, producing far more helpful and relevant results. Also think about related content on your site. So maybe someone's reading a blog post, and at the bottom of that blog post, there's recommended or related blog posts. The same for case studies. At the bottom of a case study page, there could be related case studies. The same for products. Whichever industry you're in, a lot of our websites will have related content which appears towards the bottom of a page. Now you can start to use recommendation engines that suggest related content, such as a blog post or a product or a service, but does that based on users' behaviors and interactions, as opposed to you manually selecting related content in your CMS. Spit it out, Will. This is especially important on kind of large content-heavy websites, because it's a huge task for a website administrator to go through and do this manually. So this use of AI can take that feeling of being overwhelmed away from you very quickly. So let's have a little think about how does it work. So AI search is not just a better algorithm, but it actually learns over time based on real interactions with your website's search feature. So it can start to understand that holiday in the lakes as a search phrase should surface Lake District breaks. So if you're looking for a holiday, it starts to understand context as opposed to focusing on a word like holiday, which might not be relevant to the user's intent. So let's give some sector-specific use cases here. So yeah, let's say you're in the leisure and tourism sector. It could help users narrow down dates or packages or regions intuitively by understanding what they've been searching for or looking at historically. If you're maybe within the health sector, it can start to direct users to services based on symptoms or goals, again, based on what they've been doing historically. Or if you're in the sports sector, it can start to tailor resources on your site depending on whether the user is a coach or an athlete or a fan. There's loads of use cases across every single sector. And for us at Webbox, this is a no-brainer for every single website owner to implement this year. So let's have a little look at some tools to explore. My favorite by far is Recombi. So Recombi is an AI-powered real-time recommendation engine. We've used this a number of times on our projects, and it's had fantastic results. In essence, you create a feed of your content, which you then send up to Recombi in the cloud, and then it starts to monitor how people are using your site. And when they do a search, or if they're looking for related content, it will then pass that data back to the website. And then if you want to, you can manipulate it further. So there's lots of tools you can look at. Elasticsearch is another one. This can be customized for very niche or technical search experiences, which is quite good for, health, research, legal type websites. If you want something more conversational, some brands are even embedding a ChatGPT-like search. So there's lots of options available to you here. But when you're implementing this on your website, think beyond the search bar, okay? This is actually about content discovery and nudging the user to the next action. Now let's move on to our second part here, which is more broader content personalization. So we've just talked about search and related content. We're sticking with personalization, but thinking more broadly about the content on your site. So first things first, personalization has evolved from just inserting a first name into an email to something which is more dynamic, real-time, and tailors the content perfectly to that specific user. It helps users feel like the website gets them, showing only what's relevant and valuable to them. Now, this could mean surfacing different homepage content to new versus returning users, or it could be tailoring an offer based on their location or behavior or purchase history. And when it's done right, it shortens the journey from interest to action and improves the overall user experience. So how does this work? So imagine someone clicking from a Google Ads campaign versus an organic LinkedIn post. They may be in different mindsets or different parts of the funnel, so they require different content. Now with AI, your website can automatically show the right hero banner or the most relevant call to action or the best suited testimonial, all based on where they've come from and what we know about that user. Now let's get more specific with some use cases. So again, if you're looking to book a holiday, because this is an easy one to think about because we can all relate to it, I'm sure. The content shown could be based upon seasonality, could be based upon location, or your past browsing. So if you've been looking at getaways in Paris over the last kind of week or two, then it will start to surface more relevant information to you from day one, okay? Now let me just show you a real example of this. So this video is from a platform called Personalize, and it just shows you how two users land on a landing page and they actually see completely different versions of that page. So the image is swapped out, the filters might be different, the content is changed, all based on simply the fact that Personalize knows the difference between two users. Now, aside from Personalize, here are some other tools that you could explore. So let's see here. So write message, let me pick this one out. This is quite ideal for quite lean teams. It personalizes headlines, blocks and calls to action based on visitor tags or behaviors. I guess maybe for more complex journeys, you could combine tools like Segment and Customer.io. They kind of work brilliantly together. But the takeaway here, guys, is let's start small. So personalize one page or maybe one user group and then review the data, review the results, and expand then based on what's working and what's not working, okay? Now let's move into our third point today, which is accessibility enhancements. Now, if you've joined any of our previous webinars, hopefully you'll know by now, Webbox is really keen to ensure our websites are accessible, so it's no surprise that I'm talking about this again today. Now, accessibility is a legal responsibility within some sectors, but of course, as we know, it's an ethical one for all of us. And we're really passionate that our websites are accessible to the widest possible range of users. Now, many websites unintentionally create barriers. That could be unreadable fonts or missing alt tag, poor keyboard navigation, so on, so on. Now, what AI can do is help detect and fix these in real time, or adjust the UI dynamically to suit an individual user. So it benefits more than just users with a disability. Actually, accessibility overlaps with mobile usage, low bandwidth, aging populations, and so on. So this is not just about serving one audience. This actually benefits every single user who will come to your site. So how does this work? Well, AI tools can scan your site daily and adjust in real time to meet accessibility needs. For example, if a user had, let's say, a visual impairment, they might automatically have a higher contrast or enlarged fonts served to them. Now, tools can even generate missing alt tag labels or button labels or even surface transcripts, which is a huge time saver, because if you've ever done this manually, you will know how time consuming it is to go through a site and add, let's say, alt tags to every single image, and for them to be descriptive as opposed to just like one or two words. So actually to allow AI to do that in bulk across your whole site is a huge time saver. Now, some platforms personalize accessibility and then learn over time what each visitor needs based on maybe their display settings or how they're adjusting the display of your site specifically. Now, there's loads of tools that you can explore, guys, when it comes to this. Accessibility and Userway are really popular kind of plug and play solutions, and they're ideal for retrofitting into existing sites. There's other tools, for example, if you use WordPress, so there's a plugin which specifically focuses on generating alt tags in bulk. So there's loads of different options to you, because the tools on screen tend to be the full package. But if you're struggling maybe with one area, there's often plugins for that specific area as well. Now, if you're redesigning your site at the moment, these tools can bridge the gap until like you've completely overhauled your site. Because obviously the important thing is, if you are redesigning your site now or in the near future, you would redesign it with accessibility in mind anyway, right? But if you need to do this retrospectively, then this is a good way to bridge that gap. So the other thing as well I want to mention is I'm a big believer in how AI can add value to a website experience and its engagement rate. However, when I talk specifically about accessibility, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than actually running workshops with a range of accessible users to gain real-world insights. So I'm a real big believer in marrying AI with actually real people's feedback. In response to just a question coming in, then yes, it can ensure that you're complying with the WCAG accessibility standards. So look specifically at some of these tools because some of them will refer to this. I'm fairly sure Accessibility does this, where it ensures that you are then up to speed when it comes to WCAG 2.2 AA compliance. Okay, great. So let's move on to our fourth point, and this is conversational chatbots. And I've put here in brackets, that do more than say hi, right? Because we all know the chatbots that, are useless and they just kind of say hi and they don't really help. And if we're really honest, chatbots as a topic is Marmite, right? We either really like them or we hate them. And I don't really see opinions in the middle. But I am going to touch on this today because they are improving no end with the use of AI. So what happens with a basic chatbot is, it might greet the user, it might try its best, but actually often, more often than not, if we're really honest, it just hits a dead end. And that's when the user gets frustrated, right? Because they can't get the answer they're looking for. So they're kind of hitting their head up against a brick wall. And that's when the frustration comes. That's when people leave the site and so on. But AI-powered bots can now understand intent, hold context-aware conversations, and provide real assistance. They work across the full funnel, so everything from support to sales to guidance to technical questions, as opposed to just answering a predefined list of questions that you might give it. Now, this is especially valuable for service-based websites where the path to conversion isn't a one-size-fits-all, okay? So often a conversation needs to be had, and often if you're using an AI chatbot, that conversation can now be had as opposed to people getting frustrated with it. Now, how do these work? So AI chatbots are trained on data that you give it. So this could be your website content, it could be your FAQs, it could be support tickets from your ticketing system. The list goes on, right? And what happens is it gets smarter and smarter over time as you feed it more information. So some tools actually take this further and they kind of integrate a GPT-style model for open-ended queries. But let's get specific for a minute and let's think about some use cases. So let's come back to the leisure example of booking a holiday. So it could start to understand the context as to where you're going, the dates you want to travel, the most suitable packages, and also provide information on things to do within the area, all through an AI chatbot. Or let's think about healthcare. It could start to triage common inquiries. So how long does it take until my prescription is ready? What do I need to do if I'm experiencing, a pain in my arm? All of these things can now start to be handled more effectively using an AI chatbot. Now, this is, in terms of use cases, this is especially effective where your staff might not be able to respond instantly. So let's think about kind of out of hours, if you have a lot of customer inquiries outside of hours, or maybe you've got an international market. So your team is based in the UK, but your market is global. These are the kind of things where the use case really comes into its own because the AI chatbot can actually start to service prospects effectively without you being there. Now, let's move on to some tools that you could explore. And one of my favorite is Intercom's FinBot, as they call it. Now, this is incredibly polished. It's great for scaling support and sales. And actually Intercom's suite generally is fantastic. So it's a great addition to what they've already got. Drift is another one that focuses more on B2B, so qualifying leads and kind of routing the user through to the right person or to book a call. There's Landbot, chatbot.com, they're slightly more visual, kind of no-code tools. There's so many. When I was looking for kind of tools to share on this point, I could have shared like hundreds. There are so many tools on the market, so it is worth reviewing a number of them to see which aligns with your goals. Now, if you're looking to take this to the next level, you can start to connect online chatbots with phone calls. Now, I've got an example which you would have to scan the QR code for to actually watch the whole video. But this is a relatively new brand called Neural Voice, and they are building custom AI voice assistants. Now, the example on screen is me chatting with a travel advisor to book a holiday in Paris. I don't know why holidays on my mind today, but clearly it is. So you can scan the QR code and you can see the entire video of me having a pretend phone call between an AI voice assistant and myself, and I'm trying to book a holiday to Paris for my wife and 2 kids. And it's talking me through when do I want to book, kind of prices, hotels, and so on. Now, this is a little bit mind-blowing because it opens up new possibilities to how businesses connect with their customers and provides really hyper-personalized support, especially for sectors that tend to operate out of hours, so maybe travel, recruitment, emergency health, and so on. So this is a real game changer. And when you do watch this video, maybe later on or another time, you'll quickly realize what I mean, that this AI voice assistant doesn't sound AI. It really sounds quite real, which is the scary part. Okay, let's move on to our 5th way to make your website smarter using AI. And this is predictive behavioural nudges. So let's start with what it means, why it matters. So predictive nudges are like digital instincts. The AI senses when users might hesitate or get lost or leave, and then offers them the right encouragement to drive engagement. Now, instead of blasting every user with the same message, AI waits for behavior cues. So this could be idle time on the site, repeat visits, exit intent, scroll depth, and so on. And then it will trigger a nudge. So that could be a reminder about an offer or a confidence builder, like check out this case study, or it could just be a call to action. Now, this is about removing friction and giving users a gentle push to the next step when they're most likely to respond. Now, this is a game changer because one of my pet peeves is going onto a site and within the first second, I've got a pop-up in my face. And the pop-up is like, do you want to sign up to our newsletter or do you want 10% off? For me, that just completely puts me off and it puts the website on a back foot straight away. But actually starting to use predictive behavioural nudges does this in a far more considered and intelligent way. So how does this work? How does this work? So if someone's hovering on the pricing page but not clicking, a chatbot could pop up offering help on kind of digesting the information they're seeing. Or if a visitor is about to abandon their cart on an e-commerce website, maybe a discount or an alternative contact method could appear. So think of these nudges like digital body language interpreters. They don't guess, but they learn from real user data over time. So let's look at some specific use cases. Let's take the health example. So it could be that you're on a kind of healthcare website and you're hesitating. So it might start to suggest you go to the FAQs page, or it could give you some alternative contact buttons but it's done based on the fact that you were hesitating. You weren't sure what to do at that point, and before you left the site, it's just giving you that nudge, which is all you needed to stay engaged on the site. So if you're looking to implement this, here are some tools that you can explore at a later date. So you've got Auto, gives you like powerful flow control. This kind of can trigger nudges based on very specific signals and timelines. Insider and OptiMonk are built for marketers. They kind of ultimately show limited time offers, dynamic CTAs, or reminders only when they matter. Again, Intercom is in the list. It can also do this functionality for you. The final summary here is this is not just a pop-up, okay? They're behaviourally intelligent nudges, and they do work. Okay, let's move on to our next point, which is AI-powered conversion rate optimization. And this is a topic I'm really passionate about again, and because it's so big, I'm just going to split this into two areas. So we're going to start with A/B split testing, and then move on to session replay analysis. So starting with A/B split testing. Now, if you've ever done this before, you'll know that traditional A/B testing is quite slow and manual. And what AI is doing is it supercharges it by testing more variants and testing them faster. So rather than waiting maybe weeks or months for statistically significant results, AI identifies trends early on and adapts the content automatically. So it can test combinations of headlines, images, buttons, and so on, and then show the right one to the right user. Now, this is especially valuable when you have lower traffic volumes, or on the other side of the fence, if you want to test at scale without complexity. Now, just going back to that former, the lower traffic volumes, this is something we've seen years gone by, where it's actually very difficult to do CRO if you've got a website with very low traffic volumes. And this is now opening the door to more effective A/B testing for those kind of sites. This is a key component of a data-led website improvement cycle. So instead of just making assumptions or best guesses, you can actually work from user behavior and real data. And often some of these tools actually take the legwork off you by making the changes on the site automatically, which is incredible to watch in real time. So how does this work? So think of AI testing as smart multitasking. You can test dozens of elements or combinations in parallel. It doesn't just test version A versus version B. It can create hundreds of micro variants based on traffic patterns. And this is why it's so powerful. This is great for things like landing page optimization, or maybe making your pricing structures clearer, getting better information about what resonates or what doesn't on a service page, and improving the layout of your forms, especially when they are long multi-step forms. Now let's have a little look at some use cases. So within kind of B2B, so if you're in B2B sector, you could optimize event registration flows or document download prompts. These are things which often are sticking points on those kind of websites. Or service pages. Let's understand more about what is resonating so that we can refine our proposition as a business. These are things which we struggle to do at the moment, not necessarily with traditional CRO, but this is just accelerates this and allows us to get to the end result far, far quicker. So let's have a look at some tools that you could explore to actually put this in place. So we've got Intellimize. It's great for marketers. It kind of personalizes and tests at the same time with a no-code setup. So really simple to integrate into your site. You've got things like Visual Website Optimizer, which adds Predictive analytics, so you don't need huge traffic to then test effectively. Optimizely is another great one. So yeah, have a little look at these tools in your own time and see if any of these align with your goals. Now the key is constant iteration, okay? And AI helps you find the best version, then refines it again and refines it again based on user behavior. So this is a game changer if you're doing CRO on your site. Now, let's just move to the second part of this, which is session replay analysis. Let me just set the scene. So maybe you're doing the traditional way of, let's say, using a tool like Hotjar and manually watching back loads and loads of screen recordings. Because as you'll maybe know already, Hotjar will record how a user uses your website and give you that as a video file that you can watch. Now, reviewing these videos is incredibly timely. Now, it's still important that someone actually does this, so I don't want to kind of take away from the fact that this needs to be done. However, AI is changing the game because it actually watches potentially thousands of sessions for you and then highlights the ones that matter most. So it might flag things like rage clicks or excessive scrolling, confusion loops and abandonment hotspots, so that you can then dial in and just watch those specific videos. Now this is ideal for kind of UX conversion and content teams who want to act quickly based on real data and not just a gut feeling. Now, when I speak to internal marketing teams, they're often comfortable implementing CRO tools at the start of the process, and they're also comfortable understanding the recommendations off the back of research or reports which an agency might put together. But it's that middle bit which they struggle with, which is actually analysing the data. Therefore, this closes the loop by allowing internal teams to more easily understand what the data is saying and make smarter decisions. So what it does is it kind of watches for signals like repeated clicks, pausing on certain elements, hesitating and so on, starts to group these into groups of behaviours, which then allow you to start to digest in a quicker and more informed way. Now, you might find that mobile users on a specific page constantly get stuck at the same point, and that's what it will surface through its analysis, and then you can start to put something in play to address that specific pain point, and then monitor the impact of that change. Now, let's have a little think about some specific use cases. Let's choose a different one. Let's say you're a charity. Using this would help you fix the pain point in your donation flow. So you're on a charity website, you want to make a donation, often it's a 2 or 3 step process, but actually using AI tools will allow you to analyze where people are dropping off in that funnel and help you improve that donation flow, even with low amounts of traffic and far quicker. Or let's say within healthcare, you're trying to maybe book an appointment. Again, that can be sometimes a cumbersome process. It can sometimes be off-site even. A lot of these things can then be analysed and improved using some of these tools. Now, what tools am I talking about? Well, I've got to mention Hotjar because it's a kind of staple here at Webbox. We're a big fan as we're a Hotjar partner. So if you've got specific questions on that tool, I'm happy to kind of pick this up at another point. It's quite advanced what it can do, but the AI part is still evolving. So there's kind of pros and cons there. You can also start to look at full story, which is kind of more top tier. So it kind of auto surfaces issues like rage clicks and dead links and gives heat maps with context and so on. Microsoft Clarity is actually a free and surprisingly powerful tool, especially for spotting repeat patterns across device types. So loads for you to have a look at there. But I would really encourage you to explore some of these, because this can be an absolute game changer, as it's been for some of our clients recently when used effectively. Now, just on that kind of CRO topic, I've actually recently given a talk on CRO. It was titled "Why Your Website Isn't Converting and How to Fix It." So if you want to catch up on that webinar, feel free to do that. Just use the QR code there and it will take you straight to a copy of the recording. Now, I want to leave you also with a little bonus tip, because I've gone through the 6 ways to make your website smarter using AI, but I'm throwing in a curveball today and I'm going to give you a bonus tip as well. And this is ultimately to check out Wake. Now, if you haven't come across this platform before, it stands for What AI Knows About You. It's created by my friend Dixon Jones and his team, and Wake allows you to understand what various LLMs know about your brand, and then it gives you tangible recommendations on how to improve that. So as the context of this is, like, obviously more and more people are starting to use LLMs to answer questions or find service providers and so on. So it's important, I guess, to understand what these LLMs know about your brand, if anything, and if they do know about your brand or business, how can you then improve their knowledge? So it's a really fantastic tool. You can sign up to a free trial and kind of give it a little go. And I would really encourage you just to do this, just to give you a better understanding as to kind of what these LLMs know about you. The really helpful part of it is not just understanding that they're aware of you or not, but it's actually what you can do then to plug the gaps. So it starts to do an analysis based on you versus a number of competitors, and then it can start to give you recommendations to plug content gaps based on what you're talking about and what your competitors are talking about. So yeah, head over to wake.io, take a look at that tool, and hopefully that'll be helpful to you as you're exploring AI further. Now, just as I start to wrap up, obviously, Webbox, we're here to help. So I just want to give you 3 very quick things that we could help you with. The first is for all people who have registered for this webinar, we want to offer our digital audit to you. This is not an automated tool. This is one of our expert team sitting down to analyze either your website or your performance marketing campaigns. We do this in a huge amount of detail, and we uncover things to improve the performance of either your site or digital marketing. So if you're really looking to drive better engagement, then the digital audit is a bit of a no-brainer. You can scan that QR code, and I'll also send you a link shortly. Now, if we look at our resources, so there's a ton of resources on our website which you can freely access. So I've listed some here, and there's more on the website as well. Again, I'll send you a link to these, but hopefully they will help you day to day in your marketing activity. And finally, we run these webinars fairly frequently. I've listed some of the topics that we've got coming up between now and September. So if you'd love, we'd love you to register and join any that you feel are relevant to you. Even if these topics aren't relevant to you, maybe just head over to our Eventbrite page and follow us, because then you'll get notified about any kind of upcoming topics as well. Okay. But that's enough for me for now. It just leaves me to say thank you very much for joining this session today. I hope it's been helpful and insightful to you, and we will be in touch shortly with a copy of the recording. But for now, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you.